What if your hometown became a place you couldn't live in anymore? Not in 10 years, not in 5, but by next year. Sounds dramatic, right? But it's already happening, and faster than anyone expected. A 2024 report from the Royal Society warns that over 70% of the UK's urban population will be affected by severe environmental decline before 2025. Rising sea levels, toxic air, crumbling infrastructure, and cities that once felt safe are now turning into ticking time bombs. Imagine waking up and realizing the air outside your window is more dangerous than smoking a cigarette. Imagine a flood so severe it swallows entire neighborhoods, and your local government says it's just the new normal. This isn't science fiction, this is data, hard facts, and it's targeting the places many of us call home. In this video, we'll uncover 10 UK cities that experts say may become unlivable by 2025. You might think you know which cities are on the list, but some will absolutely shock you. Stick around till the end to find out if your city made the list. And more importantly, why these changes are happening so fast, and what can be done before it's too late. Ready? Let's dive into the truth most people are still ignoring. Number 10. Swansea. Once a proud industrial hub of South Wales, Swansea is now facing a silent collapse that many locals feel every day. Once dubbed the Copperopolis of the world, the city's economy has been on a slow decline since the collapse of heavy industries. And while regeneration projects have tried to turn the tide, they haven't been fast or big enough to reverse decades of erosion. The real issue? Infrastructure that simply can't keep up. Roads, public transport and utilities are aging rapidly. In 2024, the Welsh government highlighted Swansea as one of the top cities requiring urgent structural reinvestment. But those funds? Delayed again. Promises have been made, but little has materialised beyond political headlines. Residents report chronic delays in services, from buses that disappear off the schedule to pothole-ridden roads that damage vehicles. Daily life here is grinding down. Broadband access in certain neighbourhoods is also patchy, making remote work nearly impossible for some. And the job market, bleak. Low wages, high unemployment, and a growing population of young people with nowhere to go. And here's the most alarming part: the water supply. Several districts in Swansea have faced multiple boil water notices in the past 2 years due to contamination from aging pipelines and infrastructure failure. When your tap water is unsafe, you're not dealing with inconvenience, you're dealing with survival. Climate change is also turning up the pressure. Increased rainfall is overloading sewers and flooding low-lying neighbourhoods more frequently, causing tens of thousands in property damage annually. Yet little has been done to upgrade the ancient drainage systems. Swansea isn't the worst city to live in yet, but it's sliding fast, and if the warnings go unheeded, what remains of its proud history may drown in a rising tide of neglect. Number 9. Blackpool. Blackpool, once the jewel of Britain's seaside resorts, is now a grim reflection of what happens when prosperity fades and is never replaced. Behind its iconic tower and nostalgic charm lies one of the most troubling stories in the UK today. According to the Office for National Statistics, Blackpool has the lowest life expectancy in England. And it's not just because of an aging population. The town faces a perfect storm of chronic poverty, substance abuse, mental health struggles, and failing public services. In 2024, over 36% of children in Blackpool were living in poverty, a number that continues to rise sharply. Drug-related deaths here are among the highest in the country. NHS reports highlight a deepening health crisis fueled by inadequate access to care, overwhelmed emergency services, and widespread health inequalities. Some local clinics have wait times that stretch for months, if they're even accepting new patients at all. The housing situation is no better. Many former bed and breakfasts and holiday homes have been converted into overcrowded, low-quality rental units. Reports from Shelter UK describe conditions that are barely livable, with mold-infested walls, broken heating, pest infestations, and no fire safety measures in place. For many residents, there's no dignity in where they live. Employment opportunities are scarce, and tourism, the town's former lifeline, has been in steady decline. The result? a growing population of people who feel stuck, unheard, and unsupported in every direction they turn. Local initiatives are trying to fight back, but without a significant shift in national policy and funding, Blackpool teeters on the edge of total collapse. Does this sound like your hometown? Or somewhere you visited recently? Drop a comment and let us know what's really happening in your city. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the cities on this eye-opening list. You might be shocked at who's next. Number 8. Portsmouth. Portsmouth has always been defined by the sea. Its naval legacy, maritime pride, and island city uniqueness have given it a character few other UK cities can claim. But in 2025, that very identity could become its greatest threat. The problem is erosion, and it's not metaphorical. The sea is literally eating away at Portsmouth's foundations. Rising tides are no longer projections on a climate model. They're happening now. Coastal defense systems, some of which date back to World War II, are visibly crumbling. In some neighborhoods, storm surges are pushing water up into streets where children once rode their bikes. Residents have started raising floor levels inside their own homes. Because sandbags aren't cutting it anymore, insurance companies have noticed too. Homeowners in flood-prone zones have seen premiums skyrocket, and some policies are being pulled altogether. The result? People are stuck in homes they can't sell, can't insure, and may soon not even be able to live in. Then there's the military dimension. Portsmouth is a vital hub for the Royal Navy. That might sound like an asset, but defense experts have flagged the area as critically exposed in multiple Ministry of Defense risk assessments. Vulnerability to flooding, cyber attacks on infrastructure, and even the potential for naval operations to be disrupted by environmental shifts. It's a cocktail of modern threats nobody prepared for. Energy infrastructure adds another layer of fragility. Parts of the city still depend on coastal power systems and fuel depots that are increasingly at risk from both rising seas and environmental regulation crackdowns. Portsmouth isn't just facing climate change, it's absorbing every punch it throws. And we've still got 7 cities to go. Number 7. Leicester. Leicester doesn't often make headlines. It's not known for natural disasters or dramatic political failures. But quietly, in the background of this East Midlands city, the air is slowly becoming one of its most dangerous features. In 2024, a report from the British Lung Foundation ranked Leicester among the top 5 worst cities for air quality in the UK. That's right, worse than industrial powerhouses or port cities. Why? A combination of high-density traffic, poorly ventilated urban planning, and an over-reliance on diesel-heavy public transportation. The congestion is relentless. Some streets see more than 80,000 vehicles per day, with idling engines releasing a toxic brew of nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and fine particulate matter into the lungs of residents. Children in Leicester are now more likely to be diagnosed with asthma than in almost any other UK city. That's not a statistic, it's a red flag waving furiously. Efforts to introduce clean air zones have been slow and politically controversial. While nearby cities like Birmingham and London have started cracking down on vehicle emissions, Leicester's local council has struggled with implementation delays, business pushback, and budget shortfalls. And in the meantime, people keep breathing. And it's not just the air. All that traffic is grinding the city to a halt. Commutes that should take 15 minutes stretch into an hour. Emergency vehicles face delays. Delivery systems clog up. It's a domino effect that slows everything down and raises tempers across the city. The psychological impact of constant noise, traffic stress, and poor air quality is becoming increasingly visible. Mental health services are overwhelmed, and studies show urban noise pollution is contributing to higher rates of anxiety and depression. Leicester isn't making headlines, but maybe it should. Because breathing should never be dangerous. And in this city, every breath feels like a gamble. Number 6. Luton. Luton isn't collapsing from a natural disaster or choking on toxic air. Its crisis is quieter, but just as crushing. In 2025, Luton's biggest threat isn't environmental, it's people, or more specifically, too many people in too little space. According to data from Shelter UK, Luton has one of the worst housing shortages per capita in the country. The town's population has surged by over 15% in the past decade, largely driven by internal migration and high birth rates. But housing development hasn't kept pace. As a result, entire families are packed into one-bedroom flats. Bedsits are subdivided into micro-units with little more than a sink, mattress, and shared hallway toilet. Council housing lists have wait times of over 10 years. In desperation, some families are placed in temporary accommodations, miles outside of the town, sometimes in entirely different boroughs. That means parents commuting for hours, children waking at dawn for school, and a community slowly dissolving as people are scattered far from where they grew up. The pressure has created a ripple effect across the town. Schools are overcrowded. Doctors' offices are booked weeks in advance. Public transport is overwhelmed during peak hours, with people crammed into buses and trains like sardines. Even public parks, once places of relief, are under pressure, overused, underfunded, and poorly maintained. Mental health professionals report rising levels of stress, depression, and anxiety, especially among mothers and young adults. The feeling of being boxed in, physically and emotionally, is everywhere. And for immigrants who came seeking opportunity, the reality is often far more hostile and exhausting than expected. Luton is alive, its culture is vibrant, its people resilient. But it's being stretched to the brink by a system that simply cannot hold the weight anymore. Space isn't just a comfort, it's a necessity. And in Luton, space is vanishing fast. Number 5. Bradford. Bradford is no stranger to adversity. Once a thriving textile powerhouse, the city has been grappling with economic decay for decades. But what was once a slow bleed is now a critical emergency. By 2025, Bradford is facing a reality where basic public services are collapsing under the strain of chronic underfunding and political neglect. Local authorities are blunt. The money's gone. Budget cuts from central government have slashed funding to libraries, youth centres, public health programmes, housing support, and even street lighting in some areas. In 2024 alone, Bradford City Council was forced to cut over £40 million from its operating budget, leaving entire departments on life support and key community services vanishing overnight. For residents, this means wait times for mental health services stretch into months. Street maintenance is non-existent in some neighbourhoods. Social workers are overwhelmed and under-resourced. Schools, already struggling, are losing staff at a dangerous rate. 1 in 4 schools in the district now reports having classrooms that exceed legal capacity, leading to overcrowded, understaffed, and underperforming educational environments. The job market isn't much better. Unemployment rates remain high, and low-wage work dominates the options. Young people leave in droves, while those who stay often do so without access to career paths, mentorship, or reliable transportation. It's a cycle of stagnation that's hard to break, especially when hope itself feels scarce. And all of this disproportionately affects the most vulnerable: immigrant communities, single-parent households, the elderly. For many, Bradford feels like a place where government has walked away and left them to fend for themselves. Community groups are fighting hard to plug the gaps. But without proper investment and systemic support, there's only so much grassroots effort can do. Pride alone can't pave roads or staff emergency rooms. Bradford isn't dying quietly, it's making noise. But unless someone starts listening, the city could slip past the point of recovery. Number 4. Hull. Hull has always been a city shaped by water. Its fishing history, its ports, its rivers. Everything about Hull has been defined by its proximity to the sea. But now that relationship has become increasingly dangerous. Hull sits lower than sea level. That's not poetic language, it's a geographic fact. And as climate change accelerates, the waters around Hull are rising fast. According to the Environment Agency, Hull is the most flood-prone city in the UK. It faces a greater flood risk than even parts of London or the Thames estuary. The city's flood defences, while extensive, are ageing. And with increasingly erratic weather patterns, they're being tested more often than ever before. In the last 3 years alone, Hull has seen multiple once-in-a-century floods. Except now they're coming every year, sometimes multiple times a year. This isn't just about a bit of water in the streets. Floods in Hull routinely shut down transport, destroy homes, damage businesses, and displace families. For those living in the city's poorest areas, insurance is unaffordable or entirely unavailable. Rebuilding after each disaster becomes a cycle of debt, frustration, and despair. Critical infrastructure is also under threat. Power stations, data centers, and water treatment plants are all located in zones identified as high risk. One serious flood, and Hull could go dark for days or even weeks. Despite this, funding for climate resilience has lagged. Hull City Council has lobbied for years for additional support, but national responses have been slow, fragmented, and often too late. Residents don't need more warnings. They've seen the water rise. They've carried sandbags. They've lost family photos, appliances, entire bedrooms. For Hull, the danger isn't theoretical. It's wet, rising, and very, very real. Unless bold action is taken soon, Hull may become the first major UK city to learn what unlivability really looks like. Number 3. Manchester. Manchester is often seen as the heartbeat of the North, home to music, football, and a growing digital economy. But beneath that modern image lies a crumbling reality. Aging infrastructure and sudden weather events are turning the city into a high-risk zone for urban chaos. The problem isn't just one thing, it's everything at once. Manchester's Victorian-era drainage system was never built to withstand the kind of flash floods that now hit the city regularly. In just one storm last year, over 200 homes were flooded, major roads were impassable, and the city's tram system was shut down for hours. Urban planners have warned that Manchester is one weather event away from major breakdowns in transport and sanitation. The sewer system, in particular, is under stress. During peak storms, overflow pipes dump untreated waste into local rivers, a violation of environmental standards, but a necessary evil to prevent even worse urban flooding. Add to that the pressure on public transit. Road closures due to sinkholes, burst pipes, and underground collapses are becoming more common. Trains are often delayed not by snow or strikes, but by infrastructure failures that date back more than 100 years. It's a city running on parts that should have been replaced 2 generations ago. What makes things worse is how unevenly these problems hit. Wealthier areas have better drainage, newer construction, and resources for quick fixes. Working-class neighborhoods, by contrast, are the ones knee-deep in floodwater and waiting weeks for repairs that never quite come. And while climate change accelerates the pressure, funding remains stuck in the past. Proposals for infrastructure upgrades have been bogged down in bureaucracy, with critics saying Manchester's booming skyline hides a city that's falling apart underground. Manchester is growing, but it's also cracking. And if serious investment doesn't come soon, its ambitions may be drowned beneath the very foundations it's built upon. Number 2. Birmingham. Birmingham has long been called the UK's second city, but when it comes to pollution and chaotic urban expansion, it's climbing to the top of the wrong list. The city's industrial past still casts a long shadow, one filled with toxic air, unchecked development, and collapsing public spaces. Today, Birmingham is suffocating under a thick layer of vehicle emissions, industrial discharge, and heat trapped by endless concrete. In 2024, air quality monitors across the city recorded nitrogen dioxide levels consistently exceeding legal limits. For people with asthma, heart conditions, or other respiratory issues, simply walking to work can be dangerous. But it's not just the air, it's the design of the city itself. Birmingham's rapid urban sprawl has spread far and fast, devouring green spaces and replacing them with endless housing estates, roads, and industrial parks. This kind of expansion might support population growth, but it comes at the cost of infrastructure stability and livability. Public services are stretched thin. Schools in new developments open years after families move in. Hospitals are overwhelmed, understaffed, and under-equipped. Traffic has become a daily war zone, with congestion now ranked among the worst in the UK. Some commuters report spending up to 3 hours a day stuck in gridlock just trying to get to work or drop off their children. Even more concerning is the city's fractured identity. Communities are scattered across a sprawling patchwork of disconnected districts, with little access to centralized support systems. Many residents feel isolated, trapped in neighborhoods with few jobs, limited services, and vanishing community ties that once gave the city its heart. The local government is trying to catch up, But every step forward seems to come 2 steps too late. Infrastructure can't keep pace with expansion. Environmental protections are constantly being negotiated, delayed, or watered down. Birmingham isn't failing because of one disaster. It's collapsing slowly, under the weight of decisions made too quickly and consequences ignored for too long. Number 1. London. At the top of the list, it's no surprise. London. The capital might be a global city, a financial titan, and a cultural magnet. But it's also becoming one of the hardest places to survive, let alone thrive. Let's start with the air. In 2024, air pollution in London breached legal limits more than 130 times in the first quarter alone. A study from King's College London found that over 4,000 premature deaths every year in the city are directly linked to poor air quality. Children growing up in London are developing lungs 5 to 10% smaller than average. That's not a future, it's a crisis. But the air is just the beginning. The real suffocation is economic. London's housing market has long been a pressure cooker, but by 2025 it's reached breaking point. The average rent for a one-bedroom flat now exceeds £2,000 a month before bills. Entire generations are locked out of ownership. Key workers, nurses, teachers, emergency responders can't afford to live anywhere near the areas they serve. And what do you get for the cost? Often a crumbling flat in a high-rise with broken lifts, poor insulation, mold creeping along the walls, and no sense of long-term security. Tenants are spending over half their income just to keep a roof over their heads, with little legal protection or recourse when landlords cut corners. Meanwhile, transport delays, overcrowded hospitals, and skyrocketing living costs push Londoners closer to burnout every day. The wealth is here, yes, but so is the inequality. It's a city of opportunity, but only if you can pay the price. London isn't facing one problem, it's facing them all at once. Environmental, economic, and emotional strain are converging. And for millions, the dream of making it in London is turning into a daily battle just to stay afloat. If anywhere in the UK is becoming unlivable, it's here. So which city shocked you the most? Tell us your thoughts down below. We actually read every single comment. If you learned something new today, check out our last video. It might just blow your mind even more. We pour real time and research into making these videos for you, so if you want to support what we do, hit that subscribe button. It's just one click. But it means the world to us.